love you.
You stuck with it, right?
Yet I'm stuck with you. I'm stuck with you till midnight eternity. And that's the funny joke. Because I ain't going no place. See? Where can the conscious I go? See? Conscious I can't go anywhere. Conscious I can only be what? Conscious. But it can play all kind of games in a ego nature. And the ego nature is fixations, and that's what you call the Lucifer in you, or the devil in you, or the egotist in you. I don't know, but you know, funny thing was this: when I fall off the building and I went through the death process, I thought I would see a God on the throne waiting for dead people. But I didn't find no God sitting on the throne waiting for dead people. And I thought I would see a devil sitting on the throne waiting for dead people. I see none. So I was shocked. I got fooled. Then Paul looked at me as if to say, "What you been fooled? Your nose is a thing." And then I realized, these beings, they don't talk with their mouth, but as you mentioned, clear audience, you know, that conscious feeling of knowing through the eyes, that's how they talk. It's called a clear audience. It's a tape process of the oxygen. And you hear the resonance in your head. You know that there's nothing else but knowing. And then you realize, hey, wait a minute. Everybody's the same. Wow. Well, everybody is nobody. Everybody is one principle. After a while, you don't see anybody because their individuality disappears like a bubble disappears in the cup of water. You ever see champagne when it's bubbling? All right. If you put a plate over the glass of the champagne after you pour the champagne, it'll bubble, right? Then after a while, what happens to the bubbles?
Oh, you mean there's no more oxygen, so the bubble, it exhausts its bubbling action, doesn't it?
Now listen carefully. If I pour 4 ounces of champagne into a glass and I put the saucer over it, will it still keep bubbling?
There'll be a pressure point there where it'll stop.
Hmm?
There'll be a pressure point where it'll stop.
Good.
It doesn't make an airtight saucer, though.
Huh?
Only if it's an airtight saucer.
It'll keep bubbling till it stops bubbling, right? There is no more bubble, you just see flat wine sitting there, right? Now, you measure the wine and see if you've lost anything other than the 4 ounces that you initially put in. Thank you. You poured out 4 ounces in a glass. They're bubbling. I had to do it myself, and then you put a plate over it and watch it till all the bubbles do what? Stop bubbling. And then you see the champagne became what? Flat. Nice fancy name for what?
No more oxygen.
No more oxygen. Then you measure the content and see if it's less than the 4 ounces. There's nothing less and there's nothing more. It's still 4 ounces. Then you realize everybody in this room is nothing but hot air. That's all we are. But in the unified field, we are the 4 ounces of the liquid. Meaning, the creative elements, the 144 elements, are all the same setup. But it's a fantastic process, and no human being can think of making it. A human being is a form that's allowed to experience this phenomenon. That's why it said, come, let us make a man. Let us make a manifestation. Make a manifestation. Within this miniature model, all these laws will have a chance to be reviewed or self-viewed, to talk to itself and observe. Then it will free itself. So this is what I discovered in the end, that God became me. I could never become him. And so by becoming me, he allows me in the me of me to appreciate the me of me. And that's what comprehension is all about. There's no logic. It's a hard thing to live with in memory bank and in comprehension. Would you agree that there's any logic in comprehension? No, there's no logic. But there's logic in functioning. You have to have logic in function. But not in comprehension. There's no logic in comprehension.
Where everything you've just said in the last hour, different bodies and processes, carbon, keep proving it can become diamond. It seems like that missing factor is that mankind is still exhausting its fixations. So
Well, see,
all the-
mankind isn't aware that he's a carbon-based body. How long has he ever been exposed to this reality as a carbon-based body? He has never been told that much.
So it's not part of general education.
No, and he hasn't been educated to what his body is developed from.
So
He still have a certain fixation.
So we still have the religious and philosophical fixations from the Piscean age.
Right. So as we go through the next 12 more years, we're going to be more and more conscious of what we are instead of who we are, and the facts will be constantly emerging to look at ourselves more objectively. Now, we who have already got some insight as to what we are from the initiate life will see it more as it begins to become obvious, then the transition will be speeded up. We are actually the forerunners of the Aquarian cycle, where we're going to move into that particular longevity lifestyle and reconstruct our cellular structure from our unspoken word.
From our own spoken word.
Well, I don't think Bob, or Sai Baba would live on this planet if they didn't have any intention to make these things, offer these laws to us to make us look at them, because they're living models of these laws, and they are here to give us that particular experience. So what it'll boil down to is that we will be involved more and more in becoming conscious of what we are and serving from that level of what we are, not so much from the who we are. The who we are is there while you're awake, but then it lets you down when you fall asleep. It doesn't go with you. It doesn't work for you. So you might as well learn what you are, so that both wake and sleep you know what you are, and you don't have the more to worry about sleep. Then you have the control of the atom with the spoken voice. And that's what they call prayer unceasingly. But prayer unceasingly, still living in the nebulousness of belief of what this thing is not totally released. When you totally have the acceptance and the comprehension that this is atoms, and it looks like tissue, it's been called that for so many centuries. Now, for the first time, it has much more dimensional understanding and value if you can begin to look at it more in terms of physical science, not materialism. I don't mean materialism. Physical science means how it operates within the cosmic itself to give it its values. That is, principle is spiritual, but not in the holier than thou concept. It's spiritual in the sense of it's spiraling within itself to constantly rebuild itself. So the spiraling principle is a self-recurring atomic movement, and it's constantly rebuilding itself, so it never runs out. And we don't realize that until we have to go through it and work through the comprehension level. Then the laws begin to materialize. So when they say to him that to overcome it, let's send forth a second time, they are implying the more you clean up your consciousness and the more you understand what you are, finally the atomic nature begins to materialize for your personal observation by virtue of what you say to yourself. As you speak about any part of your anatomy, it begins to correct itself.
It's part of the process of becoming less individualistic and more in group activity, is with an emphasis more on the what rather than the who, because of group action. Is that also a factor?
No, you can get locked into the wrong understanding.
Okay.
You're phasing out individuality for cohesive arrangement of your integrity,
Okay.
not a group consciousness. There's no group.
Okay.
So if you're going to go group, and then you can start trying to mold the other person next to you. So that's not where that's not it. As you face down your individuality, your cohesiveness of your wholeness begins to emerge. That you see yourself in all things for the first time. You see, you're neither man nor woman or plant nor tree. You are. And for that reason, you can't tear down another individualism, because they happen to use that as an insulator from their fear to face themselves of what they are as an atomic process. So you're seeing that, and that's why you're in the presence of Baba. He doesn't make statements of
I didn't know where you were. I ran out to my bag.
in reference to you being right or wrong. He makes you feel your selflessness and totalness in his presence. See what I mean? But he's actually looking at himself back through you, knowing fully well that wherever you have locked yourself into Bill, that's only a limitation and the ethnic condition, but it's actually Baba looking back through himself in the form of the breath passing through you. And if you disassociate from Bill or your ethnic and feel the oneness of the two, automatically you see yourself looking back at yourself through Baba. Because his face will start taking all the particular geometrics of you, and it's become like a mirror action. And that's exactly what he's trying to do for the people, that they get what is called the biological mirror action. And that's what they call unified field. But it's not impossible, because Yogananda did it to a lot of people, and I met a lot of people who he had done it to, and I had their experience with them, where we look back and see each other in each. And this is a truth in itself.
If you find that process happening with someone about it, would you just keep going with it?
Yeah.
Just keep going with it.
That's what I and the Father one represents. Now remember, he did that to his own disciples, Jesus. He looked at them and he said, "Who do men say that I am?" And many people began to make their own dissertation from their own fixation. And so they said he was a prophet, he was this and that. But the only person who had what is called a transfiguration observation or a patterning playback was Peter, who looked at him, but then Peter saw himself looking back at himself. And that was the thing that freaked Peter out. And he made his statement, "Thou art Christ." And he said, "I didn't tell you that." That kind of blew Peter away. He said, "I didn't tell you that. But the Father which is in you, the tape that is already in you, going through as the air in your nostril, you lock in. It revealed," and that's the word is used, reveal it to you, that you and I are one and the same, and you are looking back at yourself, playing back through the oxygenation of the mechanism. He said, "But upon this rock, upon this internal experience, which is genuine like a rock or solid that you can vouch for, I can build my church," which means I can build a focal point for individuals to relate back to themselves, to what they are. If everyone could close down and see themselves in things around them, that would be the foundation of the relationship between them and God. In other words, instead of trying to see somebody over there in that corner, try to see yourself standing there looking back at you.
Then he says to me strange things. He says, you know, I'm really interested in
See?
something.
That's why he said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Me is who? The internal presence of the oxygen permeating your organism to allow you to breathe. And by that comprehension, if you look and visualize yourself looking back at yourself, that is the true love of God. It's not a egotism game either. It is God having the opportunity to look back at itself. And the dignification of it, the effect, all becomes so pronounced. But then automatically you start seeing all the ones that have mastered that process standing in the room looking at you. And you are one with it all the same. That's why communication with the saint is a valid process. And that has nothing to do with channeling. It's an actual communication that allows them to materialize and be present in the room. And then your own ability to correct your mistakes by the spoken word. And the realization that you are the atom is permanent, you're going nowhere. You're free to live in the now. And that's basically the whole science.
That communication came after you reached that. It's not an understanding. It's an enactment. It's actually going through the action of seeing yourself as God. I mean, everybody in here would say, "Well, I believe you, Adano." But I don't think anybody else in here would say that our bodies believe it yet because we haven't done it yet. So that communication for you took place, say, with Yogananda, after you come to some kind of a realization within yourself, didn't it? Or wouldn't it?
Let me put it this way. Your body will not believe a single thing if it doesn't breathe. So who saw who inside of who? Who is talking to me? The air that's going in your nose and recalling all the data that your peers were saying to you while you were breathing. Now if you weren't breathing, you wouldn't know how to use the word I, Yogananda, and all these different. You had to breathe. So that is the whole principle. We don't really see this. This is only a condensation of atoms to a certain fixation. When that fixation is released, the condensation of the atoms is light. But we can't stop the sense of knowing, and we can't stop the sense of seeing. It is a consciousness that keeps existing regardless we're in the body or out of the body, because we are the air carrying this particular function in it. Alright, you drive the car, right? Have you ever noticed how you breathe when you drive the car? But you take it for granted. You're holding the wheel and regulating the car and doing everything possible so that you stay in your right lane, right? And you don't go off. And that's the same kind of condition we're talking about. The intensification of your awareness as to what you are. So eventually you become aware more and more that you're not the vehicle, not the car, you are this consciousness. It's just another step up in becoming collectively aware instead of individualistically aware. Individualistically aware, you feel you're pressing against your husband's foot right now. Collectively aware, how will you feel?
Alive. I don't know.
Alright, I'll give you another example. Which feels the clothes on your skin, or your skin feels the clothes?
The skin feels the clothes.
And why can the clothes not feel the skin? I don't know. See, I don't know. Because you've been programmed what the clot is supposed to feel. You see how we fool ourselves? Neither the clot nor the skin can feel if you don't breathe. But both are dependent on the air, giving it differential experience. So if you don't lock into that kind of fixation no more, and you focus on the air being the all-pervading principle that became the flesh and became the clot will feel the skin.
Adano, to maintain that this state of blissfulness that you feel when you're meditating in the walking state, when you start to lose it, can you concentrate on the breath, on your breathing to maintain it longer?
Yeah.
Instead of sitting back down and meditating again?
Yes, that's exactly what you
Or
focus
doing a
on.
mantra with it.
If you use a mantra, fine. If you focus back on the breath, it's exactly because you have to breathe to move.
But by concentrating on the breath, it's just being aware of the breath. Or is it using the technique that you gave?
No, being aware. You can use the technique that you have, but that's only to clean the mechanism. Being aware is, are you aware of the air in your nostril now?
Now that you mentioned it.
Yeah,
Well, all right.
yeah.
Now, just for a few seconds, try and see your conscious relationship with the air in your nostril, and hold that conscious relationship with the air in your nostril, and begin to just listen and watch the room. Don't try to analyze it, just listen and watch, and feel the air in your nostril. See, he's yawning already. That is evidence the body is integrating. The sooner you can yawn, the better, because that's exactly. That's what you have to come to grips with. When you want to realize the truth, watch the body and let the body teach you. Don't try to teach the body. That's the ego. Otherwise, you're not experiencing what you've been reading or trying to get. You have to shift the focus. You are supposed to be a witness and let the body teach you. So Albert Cliff wrote this book, Let Go, Let God, and that was all he could offer in his book. He said, I don't want to teach nobody to meditate other than to be aware that your own consciousness teaches you. And he said, if you quit trying to make yourself conscious of it, you'll arrive there faster. So I am saying is, watch the nose, let the air come in, and just watch, listen, and it will automatically put you through a process. You'll feel the yawn, yawn. Feel the move and twist, twist. Whatever the body seems to want to do in the process of constricting and dilating, this is how it teaches you now how to come in and go out. And therefore you're not locking into the fixation that you are going to control or be controlled. You're observing it, and therefore it's doing its own education of you. So if you want to yawn, yawn. Want to burp, burp. Yeah.
In any decision that you might want to make, besides throwing the coin, which I found worked really well, for some reason that throwing the coin was perfect.
Yeah.
To be able to do it. and just accept whatever it is.
Mhm.
But when you're waiting, sometimes that same principle would hold true then, wouldn't it? That you wait for your body to indicate what would be the direction to go, or what would be the action to take, or what would be.
Yes, but
And
you.
to trust it.
Or that's part of it. One, the hardest thing for the human being to do is to wait. And that's the highest science there is. Meekly wait and don't complain. You'll get into heaven faster if you apply it. And that's valid because when you can sit down and observe yourself not controlling its functions of the body, but the body is educating you to its functions of how it operates by your observation. Wanting to yawn, wanting to stretch, any kind of a movement that it tends to make you feel to do, don't block it. You just go with it. This is what you call cellular education in reference to the synchronicity of the oxygen coming in and going out. And that's the true essence of what the meditation eventually brings you. It's not sitting down and get lost in nebulousness, because you're not going to the atom that way. The atom is already in you. It's learning how to understand how the oxygen works inside of you to open the rods and cones in the eyes for you to see through the density of the mass surrounding you. But if you try to regulate it, you're putting in, you're programming your fixations, and you're blocking it. But if you just watch it, that's what they call witnessing. A witness is like a camera. The more you sit down and witness, you will feel conditions to do, but you don't fight it, you just respond to it. And before you know it, the whole room begins to become like a 4th of July. And that's exactly what in the end means. And the eyes are single, the whole body is full of light. The light is shining in the darkness means that the solid mass is holding the atoms from a non-visible level and now releasing it to a visible level. And the darkness comprehends it not. That means the skin don't understand why it should have been there in the first place. But let your light so shine mean just keep watching it and let it glow. It'll light up because the phosphorus is inside of you already.
Is there would that be the same principle in trying to do that, say in a dream state, when you sleep at night to gain a consciousness of yourself? Or is that something that would come automatically?
No, the dream state, these are again, you're going off away from yourself. All right. Look at your hand. Now, is it made of, what is it made of?
Flesh.
Flesh.
So,
Is it hot or cold?
hot.
Good. How you know it's hot?
The palm of my hand feels hot.
The palm of your hand feels hot. What is doing the feeling?
My nerves.
Hmm?
My nerves.
Well, your nerves is doing the feeling. Your blood is not hot?
Here's my blood's hot.
Yeah. Are you not breathing to keep it moving? So what is hot now?
My breath.
So the palm of the hand feels now? Hotter?
Yeah.
All right.
Tingling.
All right, it's getting hotter, right?
Uh-huh.
Because the blood is what? Moving faster because you're breathing to keep it aerated with the oxygen. So, now, but heat throws off what?
Heat throws off. I don't know.
Well, you never saw a hot cup of coffee? What did it do?
Steam.
Steam. So when your hand getting hot, now, Is it not throwing off an invisible steam off the skin?
I suppose it is.
Ah, you see, a doubt in the head, I suppose. But now you know how you're really trying to tell yourself you want to be realized, but you want to realize with what? A conversation.
Uh-huh.
Your skin has got hot from the fact that you recognize that the blood is passing through it. You didn't make the blood go. The blood was already there. You are breathing, causing it to feel hot. By the same token, elements are moving. There's phosphorus in that skin. Now, where do you think the phosphorus is? Is it inside the skin or outside of the skin?
It's inside the skin.
Hmm?
Inside the skin.
You agree with that, Mr. Bergstrom? Where is the phosphorus
Where's my
located?
phosphorus?
Where's the phosphorus located?
Is it in the skin or outside the skin? Under the skin or outside of the skin or in the bone or what? One of the basic 12, you know.
Phosphorus is in the bone.
It's in solution in the blood. And it's in the cells.
Okay, this is class 4.
I haven't had that.
Name me 7 basic elements that the skin contains.
The skin. Here we go. I started thinking which ones it is. I know it's not calcium since that is in the bone for sure.
No.
There are 2 C's, 2 P's.
Oh, you just want me to name what, the 12?
No, the 7
The 7 ones in the skin?
basic elements that are in the skin. That's class 4, all right.
Yeah, I can't remember which ones are.
You have calcium in your skin. You have
Let's see, out of the 12, okay.
You have calcium.
Silicone's in the bone, that's not in the
You have
skin.
calcium in the skin.
Okay.
Give me the next C now.
You're going to have chlorine in the skin?
Yes.
Okay. But not the third C, you're not going to have
No, you don't have carbon in your skin.
Okay.
Now give me the 2 P's.
Okay. You're saying both those are in the skin?
They gotta be in
Okay.
the skin.
Phosphorus and potassium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you got 1M.
Manganese. I would say it would be manganese. No. But that leaves, let's see, out of the wide choices I have left, I'll take magnesium.
That's right. Magnesium is in your skin. Now you got how many more now? How much did you name?
5, we got 2 more.
Find the other 2 now. You
Okay.
should know the other 2 by now.
Sulfur's got to be one.
Okay. What is the
Yes.
next one now?
Impossibility of anything. Chlorine, not going to be iron. Chlorine, sodium.
You have iron in it.
No.
No?
There's no iron in the skin. In your blood.
Oh, okay.
We're talking of the skin here.
Fluorine.
No.
It's going to be sodium?
Sodium. Now, young lady, your hand gets hot from the blood. Your oxygen is going through your nose from the air outside. Is that skin going to glow from the heat? Then which element is going to glow from the heat? He just mentioned
Which element is going to chlorine? Phosphorus, I mean.
phosphorus glows from the skin, right? So you call it you call it a what when you see somebody's what?
Flushed. Or somebody's.
Oh, or a nice fancy word. Well, tell me more now. The Killen camera picks up the phosphorus reading off your skin and prints it off. in reference to the deficits and excesses, so you call it a Nora.
All hocus pocus of God is not possible.
But Adano, what about the thoughts and emotions affecting phosphorus? Is that just the electromagnetic?
Your thoughts and your emotions will only do two things to the surface of the skin. Constrict it and dilate in relation to the trauma.
What about in curly photography when something's been cut off, whether it be a plant or missing limb or whatever, the glow is still there?
If you cut the portion of the limb off,
Missing finger or whatever, the glow, the pattern's still
this
there.
it's still there. It's not going to go. Electricity can't go nowhere, and magnetism can't go nowhere.
But if the organ isn't there and the finger or whatever isn't there anymore, and there's no skin to radiate phosphorus.
I can cut this finger off, but it'll still be there in the electrical,
Right.
so it's not going to go away.
Phosphorus is still there too?
Phosphorus is still there. Ain't going to go away. You see, we don't know what we are, and we're so busy living in a who and make up all kind of labels for ourselves, and then in the end, when you do find out you got fooled, God didn't get fooled. That's why He allowing you till midnight eternity to play the game of the who what.
There's so much misinformation.
You see, my friend, there is information, there's confirmation, and disinformation.
Well, there's another thing about curling photography is, though you're saying that sensitivity is there, they have those minerals. Under curling photography, to my knowledge, they have never shown a human limb as showing up under curling photography afterwards. They have done it with a leaf, but only in the springtime, interesting enough, will the complete pattern of the leaf show under curling photography. Because I used to do curling photography.
Oh, no, not good. You got it wrong in my clinic. What else you had now? The cut the skin.
What else now to cut the...
If you cut down the mechanism.
Okay. What else you have if you cut it down?
If you cut off a finger,
Okay, well, first of all, you have a patterning of an electric body,
yeah,
a magnetic body,
yeah,
a pressurization body,
yeah.
and sonics as well.
So the current camera will photograph
The
that phosphorus
electron-
emanation that is there,
electron emanation on a principle of Model T coil.
right? It's not, so we know that if you don't stitch or throw away the severed finger, you can stick it back there, tape it up, and it will heal itself. The British have done it now. They will not stitch a severed limb no more. They will take it, put it there, and they'll put a plastic tube over it to hold it so it doesn't drop down. And then they'll tape it. And that tube will stay there and it'll bond itself. Then they'll take it out. But they will not stitch. Because they have found that when you stitch, it doesn't grow back. But if you don't stitch and just tape, it will grow right back. You have the salamander effect in your limbs. But if you stitch it, it will not generate the salamander effect. But if you don't stitch it, it will generate the salamander effect.
Are you talking about creating a new finger, or
Yeah, both.
or regeneration, or
No, it can do both. You can connect the
connecting the
and it will join itself.
joints?
Or put a cap right there and the length of the finger that is missing, that cap coming out here, hooked on and taped, and let the blood run into it. It will grow the finger back. The salamander effect will come out. They have done it already. That's what's puzzling to everybody now. We know the salamander grows itself, it parts back, but they didn't know how to do it. Now they found how to do it. They will not sew up the cut part, or if they get the part that is cut off, they'll put it back in the cap and let it rebuild itself. But if they can't, they'll put a plastic cap over to cover the length of the finger that it represented, and then tape that spot there and let just the natural blood flow in that container.
How long will that take to do it?
Exactly the length of time it takes to knit a bone.
28 days.
No. How long does it take to knit bones?
To what about?
Yes.
Oh, so 6, 9 months?
I think it's in weeks, isn't it? 6 weeks, something around there.
No.
You do it if you get it polarized.
It's 7 weeks.
How many weeks?
7 weeks.
7.
The bone knits back in 7 weeks.
When polarized.
49 days. 49 days.
Yeah. You are an amazing organism, but you don't know what you are.
One of the most amazing aura reader I ever read was Adano, by the way. I brought a curly photograph to him. Showed it to this lady. This lady had a problem. She bet me that he couldn't find out what it was on the curly photograph. So I brought it to him, and in typical Adano Lay fashion, he holds it upside down to look at it. And he says, well, this and this and this and a couple of things. He says, but this lady is dying of a broken heart. And then he asked me how old she was, and I said, I don't know, I'm probably about, and I gave an age. He said, well, this incident probably, due to this, happened about 2 years ago, and probably involved her, probably with her husband. So, I phoned her up on the phone, and I said that you're having some kind of, that what the exact quote he said, and it probably has something to do with her husband. And over the phone she began crying. And she said, yes, 1 year, 11 months, and 27 days ago. Yes. He says, I must meet this man. And came in for therapy right after that.
But you told her before that he's a weirdo. You told her after the incident, you're lucky. That's the problem with timing. You tell somebody something before it happened, you're a psychic or a weirdo. If both of you are reaching down for a pin and you bump each other's head at the same time, that's what you call synchronicity. If when you get up and you didn't bump each other, you're lucky. That's the timing of it. But the laws of physics work. And they're not, you see, they use the word metaphysics to be the all-inclusive laws of nature. But meta don't mean beyond. Meta should have been interpreted to mean invisible. Physics that are visible, which we can relate to, and physics which are invisible, that we can not see but recognize through certain equipment or through the slowing the brain down. Yeah, that's what you're trying to work with. So you see, if you look at the edge of your skin now, as it gets hot, and don't blink your eyes, it'll glow. You will see it glowing. But it's been glowing all the time, but you never took time to look at it, to observe it. So, glow, little glowworm, glow, 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 little glowworm, glow, glow.
What happens when you're looking at somebody and you dissipate them? I mean, what is taking place
They
there?
suddenly seem to be what?
Um,
Disappear in front of your eyes? Or become
kind of,
transparent or flattened out?
or features change, and then they just start to dissipate. It's almost as if darkness starts filling in. What happens there? But before that happens, let's see, there would be a glow around them. You would see a glow. And is that